CEO Millionaire disguises himself as a homeless man in his own company but doesn't expect what the janitor will do. The black limousine pulled up in front of the 40-story glass skyscraper. Richard Thompson straightened his Italian silk tie, checked his platinum Rolex, and sighed. Another day. Another round of endless meetings about numbers that meant nothing more than zeros in already overflowing bank accounts. Mr. Thompson, your 9 o'clock is confirmed. Veronica Hayes appeared at his side, tablet in hand, professional smile plastered on her face. She was efficient, impeccable, and Richard trusted her like he trusted any subordinate, with measured caution and calculated distance. Great, he replied without looking at her, heading toward the private elevator. The ride to the 40th floor took exactly 47 seconds. Richard knew every detail of his company, every figure, every quarterly report. What he didn't know were the faces rushing through the lower floor hallways. He didn't know their names, their stories, their struggles, and he didn't care. Or at least that's what he told himself. The morning unfolded like every other. Meetings, spreadsheets, decisions affecting hundreds of lives reduced to resource optimization and operational cost-cutting. It was during his lunch break, grilled salmon and organic salad served in his office, that Richard found the letter. It was on his desk. Simple. A plain white envelope with no return address. Mr. Thompson, your company has lost its soul. You rule an empire of people you've never seen. You only come down from the clouds to count coins, while down below, those who truly build your throne are bleeding. When was the last time you looked in the eyes of the person who cleans your floor? When was the last time you were human? Richard crumpled the paper tightly. Another resentful employee. Another person who didn't understand how businesses worked. But something in the message bothered him. He mulled over those words all afternoon. That night, alone in his penthouse with a panoramic view of the glittering city, Richard sipped 50-year-old scotch while flipping through old photos. Him and his father, still alive, opening the first headquarters of Thompson Tech. He was 25, eyes bright, believing he would change the world. When did that change? When did he become this? His phone rang. It was Peter, his eldest son, 17 years old. Hey, Dad. Peter. What a surprise, son. How are you? Good. Look, I called because... Never mind. You must be busy. No. Go ahead. Awkward silence. It's just that tomorrow I have that science project presentation. Remember? You said you might come. Richard didn't remember. He didn't even know his son had a science project. Of course, son. What time again? Forget it, Dad. I know you have important stuff. Talk later. The call ended before Richard could respond. He stared at the phone, feeling a strange emptiness in his chest. When was the last time he really talked to his kids? When was the last time he was a real father, not just an absent provider? The letter came back to mind. When was the last time you were human? In the early hours of the morning, sleepless, Richard made a decision that would change everything. He picked up the phone and called Marcus Taylor, HR director and his only real friend since college days. Marcus, I know it's late, but I need you first thing tomorrow. I have a plan. A crazy plan. 3 days later, an unrecognizable man showed up at the Thompson Tech lobby. A week's worth of stubble, threadbare clothes bought from a thrift store, the deliberate smell of someone who's been living on the streets. Richard Thompson had become Roger Silva, a 45-year-old unemployed man looking for a shot as a general services assistant. ID! The security guard barely looked at him, hand extended with boredom. Here, sir. Richard, now Roger, handed over the forged papers Marcus had arranged. Night shift. Report to the basement, Sector C, 10 p.m. And take a shower first, for God's sake. The guard grimaced, handing back the documents like they were contaminated. Richard felt something new. Not anger, not outrage, but a strange stab of humiliation. What was it like to be treated this way? To be invisible? During the day, he wandered the city keeping up the disguise. He sat in parks, received looks of disdain. An elderly woman crossed the street when she saw him. Cop told him to move along. Each interaction was a brutal lesson about the other side of life. The side he'd never needed to know. At 10 p.m. sharp, Richard descended to his own company's basement. It was a place he'd never visited. Tight corridors, dim lighting, the smell of cleaning supplies. 200 people worked there to keep the building running. He knew none of them. "You the new guy?" A female voice, tired but kind. Richard turned. In front of him was a woman in her mid-50s, maybe 60. Short, slender, gray hair pulled into a simple bun. Her janitor uniform was spotless despite the wear from years of use. But it was her eyes that stood out. Deep-set eyes carrying the weight of the world, yet still shining with something Richard couldn't quite name. Yeah, ma'am. Roger. Teresa." She extended her calloused hand. The grip was firm, honest. "Welcome. You'll be working with me this week. Hope you can keep up. It's tough around here." "I'll do my best, ma'am. Just Teresa is fine." "Ma'am was for my mom. God rest her soul." She smiled, revealing teeth that could use a dentist after years of neglect. "Come on. I'll show you the supply room and get your gear." For the first few hours, Richard just followed Teresa through the floors, learning the routine. They started on the 15th floor, finance department, and worked their way down, cleaning bathrooms, emptying trash cans, vacuuming carpets. The work was mechanical, repetitive, exhausting. His back ached after 2 hours. His hands, used only to typing and signing papers, were blistering. Teresa worked with quiet efficiency. She didn't complain, didn't sigh. She just did it with a dedication that impressed him. Between floors, she commented on the company. "I've worked here 23 years, seen a lot of changes. 3 different CEOs. When Old Man Thompson was alive, he knew everyone's name, you know. He'd come down here sometimes, have coffee with us. But the son, they say he's cold. Never seen him myself. Stays up in the clouds, right?" Richard felt a pang in his chest. "And is it good working here?" Teresa paused her mopping, looked at him with something close to sadness. "Look, Roger, I'll be straight with you. It used to be better. A lot better. We had decent benefits before, health insurance that covered more. Now, they've cut everything. Wages don't keep up with inflation. And some managers treat us like animals. Why don't you leave then?" "Leave for what? 58, who's gonna hire me? And besides, I need this job. I need it bad." There was something in her voice, something beyond fatigue. It was contained desperation. "You got a problem, Teresa?" She went back to mopping, faster now. "Everyone's got problems, Roger. You just learn to carry them without complaining." The night wore on. It was nearly 4 a.m. when they finished the last floor. Richard was exhausted in a way he'd never felt. It wasn't just physical. It was deeper, like every sore muscle revealed years of undeserved comfort. "All right, that's it. Same thing tomorrow. You'll get the hang of it," Teresa said, stowing the supplies. "Where you live, Roger?" Richard hadn't thought about that. The plan was to keep the disguise just for the shift. But saying he was going home would break the authenticity. "I don't have a steady place right now." Teresa stopped, turned slowly toward him. "You homeless?" "Temporarily. But I'm hustling, you know? This job'll help." Teresa was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed, grabbed her worn purse. "Come here." She led him to a tiny room in the basement. It had an old couch, a small table, a broken microwave. "This is like a break room nobody uses. You can crash here at night. But don't tell anyone. Okay? If security finds out, we're both in trouble." "Teresa, I can't accept that. You barely know me." "That's exactly why. Everyone deserves a chance, Roger. You seem like a good guy, just down on your luck. We've all been there." She opened her purse, pulled out a plastic container. "Brought lunch from home. Ate half on break. Take the rest. It ain't much, but it'll fill you up." Richard looked at the container. Rice, beans, a small piece of chicken. The simplest food in the world, but offered with a generosity he'd never witnessed. This woman, who clearly needed every penny, was sharing her meal. "Teresa, thank you. Seriously, Thank you so much. No problem. We help each other, right? Makes the world a little less harsh. She left, leaving Richard alone in that tiny room. He looked at the food container, the old couch, the peeling walls, and for the first time in years, Richard Thompson cried. What would you do if you discovered that those who have the least are the most willing to give? And what does that say about who we really are when we have everything? The second night started differently. Richard, Roger, woke on the old couch with his body aching from head to toe. Muscles he didn't even know he had protested from movements he'd never done. He checked the clock. 8 p.m. 2 hours until the shift. He used the basement bathroom to wash up as best he could. In the foggy mirror, he barely recognized himself. The stubble was thicker, deep bags under his eyes. He looked 10 years older after 2 days. Morning, sleepyhead. Teresa appeared at the door, smiling. She had another container. Brought coffee and toast. Figured you didn't have time for breakfast. Teresa, you don't have to. It's done. Take it before it gets cold. The coffee was reheated, probably leftovers from the morning. The toast was a bit stale, but Richard ate it like it was the most delicious meal in the world, because it came with something money couldn't buy. During the night, as they worked, Teresa opened up a bit more about her life. You know, Roger, I raised my granddaughter alone. Isabella. She's 12. She's the love of my life. What about her parents? Teresa paused her cleaning, her face darkening. My daughter. She died in childbirth. Complications. It was just me and her after my husband passed. When Isabella was born, I thought I'd die of grief. I lost my girl. But then I looked at that little baby and thought, she's all I have left of my Lucia. Ever since, I worked to give her everything. She in school, 7th grade. Smart kid, you know? Good grades, loves to read. Wants to be a doctor. Teresa's voice filled with pride. I always tell her, study hard, honey. Study to have a better life than your grandma. You must be a great grandma. I do what I can, but I admit, it's tough, Roger. I work here, then clean 2 private homes. After weekends I help out at a diner. I hardly see Isabella awake. She sleeps when I leave, still sleeping when I get back. But that's how it is, right? Bills don't pay themselves. Richard felt his throat tighten. This woman worked nearly 24 hours to support her granddaughter. While when was the last time he sacrificed anything real for anyone? And she's healthy? Isabella? Teresa went silent. Too long. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. She's getting treatment. Nothing serious. She changed the subject too quickly. Come on. We still have the whole 10th floor. On the upper floors, Richard started seeing his company through completely different eyes. On the 25th floor, marketing department, he witnessed a manager berating an intern. Are you stupid or just pretending? I needed that report yesterday. What do you think you're here for? To look pretty. The girl, no more than 20, was on the verge of tears. Sorry, Mr. Carvalho. I had a family issue and... Family issue? Leave that at home. Here you work. Got it? Work or get out. Richard watched Teresa press her lips together, continuing to clean without a word. But he saw the indignation in how she scrubbed the floor. When the manager left, Teresa approached the intern. Don't let him get to you, sweetie. Some people feel big by making others feel small. Thanks, Mrs. Teresa. The girl wiped her eyes. But he's right. I should have turned it in sooner. And you tried, didn't you? Sometimes life gets in the way. Take a deep breath and keep going. You're strong. Richard saw the girl smile. A small smile, but genuine. Teresa had that gift. Making people feel seen, valued. Later, in the service elevator, Richard asked, You always do that? Comfort. Tea people. Do what? Look out for others. Even when you must be exhausted yourself. Teresa leaned against the elevator wall, closed her eyes for a second. You know, Roger, when you've been through so much, you learn pain intimately. So when you see someone suffering, you just do what you'd want done for you in those dark times. Sometimes a word makes a difference. Sometimes it's just looking them in the eye and showing they're not alone. You're special, Teresa. A lot of people wouldn't do what you do. She laughed, but it was joyless. Special? I'm just a janitor, Roger. An old lady cleaning floors to get by. No, you're so much more than that. Teresa looked at him, really looked, as if trying to read beyond the words. You're different from the others, you know? You talk different. Think different. Richard felt a chill down his spine. Was his disguise slipping? It's just, I've lived other lives before this one. Had more once. Lost it all. It wasn't entirely a lie. I get it. Life takes turns. Huh? Down today, up tomorrow. If only she knew. It was on the third night that everything started to unravel. Richard arrived at the break room and found Teresa sitting on the couch, head in her hands, crying. She was sobbing desperately, muffled, like someone trying not to make noise but unable to hold it in. Teresa! Richard rushed to her. What happened? She lifted her face. Her eyes were swollen, red. In her hands crumpled what looked like a hospital letter. Sorry, Roger. Didn't want anyone to see me like this. Forget that. Tell me what happened. Teresa took a deep breath, but the tears kept falling. It's Isabella, my granddaughter. She has leukemia. They found out 6 months ago. Richard felt the world stop. My God! She's on chemo. The company health plan covers the basics. But the doctors say there's a new treatment, experimental, could really save her. Bump her chances from 30% to 80%. What's the problem? Teresa looked at him, eyes full of desperation. It costs $200,000, and the plan doesn't cover it. The amount was absurd for her. For Richard, it was what he spent on a weekend, less even. But for Teresa, it was impossible, unreachable. I've tried everything. Loans from every bank. None approve. Crowdfunding. Nothing. I make $2,500 a month here, plus about $1,800 from the side gigs. How am I supposed to come up with $200,000? She sobbed, clutching the paper. The doctor said today, Isabella has at most 3 months without this treatment. 3 months? Roger. My little girl is going to die and I can't do a damn thing. Richard felt something break inside him. This woman who gave everything, who helped strangers, who worked to exhaustion, was going to lose her only family. For lack of money. Money he had in abundance. That he blew on useless things without thinking. Teresa, listen. I know a guy. Someone with money. I can talk to him. I'm sure he'll help. Teresa shook her head, wiping tears angrily. No, I won't take handouts. I've worked my whole life with dignity. I'm not starting to beg now. It wouldn't be a handout. It'd be a loan. You pay back when you can. Roger, I'll never be able to pay back $200,000, even working the rest of my life. Then you work the rest of your life. But your granddaughter lives. The silence that followed was heavy. Teresa looked at him, torn between pride and despair, between the dignity she'd carried for decades and the immeasurable love for her granddaughter. I don't know. Teresa, for God's sake. It's Isabella's life. Don't let pride kill your girl. The tears came back, but different now. She nodded, defeated by love. Okay, but only if it's a real loan. I'll sign papers, contracts, whatever. I'll work till I drop if I have to, but I'll pay every penny. Richard took her calloused hands in his. It'll be all right, I promise. What he didn't know was that, at that exact moment 40 floors above, Veronica Hayes was in her office, listening to the recording of that conversation through a hidden microphone she'd planted in the break room. A cruel smile formed on her perfectly painted lips. So the great Richard Thompson is playing homeless. Interesting. Very interesting. She picked up the phone, dialed a number. Hello? Yes, it's me. I have information you'll want to hear. About our CEO. He's having a mental breakdown. No, not a joke. I have proof. Let's schedule that emergency board meeting. Monday. Time to make our move. In the next 2 days, Richard transferred the money through an offshore account, making it look like it came from an anonymous investor. Teresa signed a loan agreement that Richard knew he'd never enforce. Isabella started the experimental treatment. But while Teresa's granddaughter gained a chance at life, a storm was brewing on the upper floors of Thompson Tech Veronica called secret meetings. Sowed doubts, showed evidence of suspicious transfers, created narratives about the CEO's mental instability. And worst, she spread rumors about Teresa. On Friday night, when Richard arrived for his shift, he noticed something off. The other employees eyed Teresa with suspicion. Some stepped away when she passed. In the locker room, he overheard whispers. "They say she's involved with some homeless guy. Heard she got a ton of cash out of nowhere. Shady stuff. Always thought she was weird. That whole Saint act was fake." Richard felt rage boiling. What was going on? Who was spreading these lies? Teresa worked silently that night. No smiles, no chat, just mechanical cleaning, face closed off. She was being isolated, punished. Why? For accepting help to save her granddaughter? When they were finally alone in the elevator, she spoke. "Roger, people are saying things, ugly things, about me and you." "What kind of things?" "That I'm involved with you, that I got the money the wrong way. I know it's not true, but people believe it. My supervisor called me in today, asked questions. They're investigating." Richard clenched his fists. Someone was orchestrating this. Someone who knew about the money. But how? "Teresa, it'll blow over. It'll be fine. And if I lose my job, Roger, I need this job. Even with Isabella's treatment, I need to pay bills, to live. You won't lose it. I won't let you." But even as he said it, Richard felt the situation slipping from his control. Something bigger was at play. Something he couldn't yet see. The answer would come on Monday, in a way neither could imagine. How far does the cruelty of those with power go when they feel threatened? And how many innocent people are destroyed before the truth comes out? The weekend was agony. Richard returned to the penthouse, took a long shower, put on expensive clothes. But he couldn't get Teresa out of his head. Or Isabella. Or the rumors starting to circulate. He tried calling Marcus, the HR director, but he didn't pick up. Marcus always answered. Saturday night, he finally got through. "Marcus, man, what's going on? There are rumors flying about the janitor that..." "Richard." Marcus's voice was tense. "We need to talk. In person. Now." They met at a discreet coffee shop. Marcus looked years older in days. "Veronica knows." Richard felt his blood run cold. "Knows what?" "She found out about the disguise. Don't know how, but she did. And worse, she's using it against you. Called an emergency board meeting for Monday. She's gonna present evidence that you're having a mental breakdown, diverting company funds." "That's insane. I didn't divert anything." "I know, but she has forged documents. Records of transfers linking the company account to the one you used to help Teresa. She's painting a picture of an unstable CEO who infiltrated his own company pretending to be homeless and is having an affair with an employee." Richard ran his hands over his face. "My God. And Teresa? Does she know?" "Not yet. But Monday, Veronica's gonna make a public spectacle. Humiliate her in front of everyone before the board meeting. It's part of the plan. Show you've lost it, involved in inappropriate situations. I can't let that happen. I have to reveal myself first. Explain everything." Richard, think. If you reveal now, without context, without prep, you just confirm her story. You'll look unstable for real. The board could remove you. You could lose control of the company. "I don't care about the company. I care that Teresa isn't destroyed for helping me." Marcus grabbed his arm. "Listen, let Veronica make her move. Let her think she won. Then you turn it around. In front of the board, everyone. Show who she really is. But it has to be at the right moment. Monday, at the peak of the confrontation." Richard wanted to scream, wanted to call Teresa and warn her. But he knew Marcus was right. It was a chess game, and he needed to think 3 moves ahead. "Okay, we'll do it your way. But if Teresa suffers because of me, She'll suffer either way. The question is, will you let that suffering be for nothing, or use it to take Veronica down once and for all? Monday dawned gray. Richard, Roger, arrived at the company at 9:30 p.m., half an hour before the shift. He wanted to talk to Teresa first, prepare her, but when he got to the basement, she wasn't there. He asked another employee. Teresa hasn't shown yet. By the way, heard something's up. HR was looking for her earlier. A chill ran down Richard's spine. It had begun. At 10 p.m., Teresa arrived, but not in uniform. She wore simple street clothes, purse in hand, face pale. Teresa, what happened? She looked at him, eyes red. They called me to HR emergency. Said there's a serious issue. I have to go to the main lobby now. In front of everyone. Don't go. Teresa, don't go. I have to, Roger. They said if I don't, it's termination for cause. And I can't lose this job. I can't. Richard saw the fear in her eyes. Real fear. From someone with no safety net. Who knew one wrong step meant disaster. Then I'll go with you. You? Roger, don't get involved. You're new here. Don't burn yourself for me. I have to, because you're the most decent person I've ever met. And because I owe you way more than you know. Teresa didn't understand, but she nodded. They went up together. The service elevator felt slower than ever. When they reached the main lobby, Richard saw the staged scene. Veronica was there, with 2 security guards, 5 executives, and about 40 employees clearly summoned to watch. An audience for the humiliation. Teresa took a deep breath and walked to the center. Richard stayed in the shadows, observing. Ah, finally. Veronica spoke loudly, her voice echoing off the marble lobby. Teresa Silva, correct? Yes, ma'am. Do you know why you're here? No, ma'am. Veronica grabbed a folder, opened it dramatically. Let's clarify then. You allowed a stranger, a homeless man, to sleep in company premises. You violated security protocols. And more. She paused theatrically. Recently, you received a suspicious sum of money, $200,000, from a questionable source. Murmurs erupted among the onlookers. Teresa paled. The money's a loan, for my granddaughter's treatment. She has cancer. And Roger only slept there because... Roger. Veronica feigned surprise. Oh yes, the homeless guy you sheltered. How convenient. A homeless man who magically comes up with $200,000. Doesn't that seem suspicious, Teresa? He knows someone who... Who what? Teresa, let's be realistic. You, a janitor, suddenly get nearly $250,000 after sheltering a stranger. How do you think that looks? Teresa was trembling. It looks like I accepted help to save my granddaughter. That's it. Or it looks like you got involved in something illegal. Money laundering, maybe. Or worse. The shock was audible. Teresa staggered like she'd been punched. How dare you? I dare because it's my job to protect this company. And people like you. Veronica looked her up and down with disgust. People who exploit the goodwill of an institution, who use sob stories for illicit gains, need to be exposed. Richard was shaking with rage. His hands balled into fists. Not yet. Not yet. Let her finish. Let her bury herself. Teresa, tears streaming, composed herself, straightened her back, looked Veronica in the eye. You may have a title, money, power, but you know what you don't have? Humanity. Yeah, I'm a janitor. I clean floors, empty trash, but I do it with dignity. I get up every day and work till my hands bleed to take care of the people I love. I've never stolen from anyone, never hurt anyone. She wiped the tears but kept speaking, voice growing firmer. And you know WH. When I see someone down, I help. When I see someone hungry, I share my food. Because that's what real people do. You can take my job, humiliate me, smear my name, but you can't take who I am. Because I know who I am. I'm a mom, a grandma, a worker, and I'm human. You, what are you? Just an empty suit. The silence that followed was absolute. Even Veronica was speechless for a second. But she recovered quickly, face red with anger. Nice speech, Teresa. But words don't pay bills. Security, escort her out. You're fired for cause. Hand over your badge and... Stop! The voice boomed through the lobby with authority that froze everyone. Richard stepped into the center, removing his cap, wiping the intentional grime from his face with the sleeve of his ragged shirt. Don't touch her. Veronica frowned. Who do you think you are? Security. Get this bum out of here. The guards advanced, but stopped when Richard spoke again. My name isn't Roger. He wiped away more makeup, revealing features that were starting to become recognizable. My name is Richard Thompson, and I'm the CEO of this company. If you could see the face of the person who hurt you when they realized they were destroying someone far greater, would you feel satisfaction or pity? And more importantly, is justice sweet when it finally arrives? The shock hit like a wave. Faces paled. Mouths dropped. Veronica staggered back, all color draining from her perfectly made-up face. No. Impossible. Richard walked slowly until he was face to face with her. His voice was low, but each word cut like a knife. Surprised? You should have thought twice before wiretapping my phone, Veronica. Before forging documents. Before trying to destroy an innocent woman to cover your own crimes. He turned to the stunned crowd. For those who don't get it, let me explain. A week ago, I decided to do something I'd never done. Truly get to know the people who work in this company. So I disguised myself as Roger Silva, General Services Assistant. I wanted to see the company from the bottom. See how we treat the people who actually keep this place running. He pointed to Teresa, who was in absolute shock. And you know what I found? The most dignified, most human, most truly wealthy person in this company is a 58-year-old janitor making $2,500 a month. Teresa offered me food when I was hungry, a place to sleep when I had nowhere, kindness when I was a total stranger. Tears ran down his face now, unashamed. And when I learned she needed help to save her granddaughter dying of leukemia, I helped. With my own money, not the company's. Mine. Because for the first time in years, I felt what it means to be truly human. He turned back to Veronica, who was trembling. But you found out. Through illegal bugs you planted in my office, my phone. You thought you could use my mental instability to seize control of the company. Forge documents, spread lies, and decided to publicly destroy Teresa as part of your plan. Richard, I can explain. Shut up. His voice exploded. You were going to destroy this woman. A woman who works 3 jobs to save her granddaughter. Who never hurt a soul. Who has more honor in her pinky than you do in your whole body. He turned to the security guards. Escort Ms. Hayes out. She's fired. And she'll be criminally prosecuted for illegal wiretapping, document forgery, defamation, and attempted corporate fraud. My lawyers will have it ready by tomorrow. Veronica tried to speak, but the guards were already leading her away. As she passed Teresa, for a moment their masks slipped. Teresa just looked at her with something that wasn't anger. It was pity. When Veronica was gone, Richard turned to Teresa. The crowd watched in absolute silence. Teresa, you're... Teresa couldn't process it. You're the owner of the company. I am. And I'm an idiot. An idiot who had to pretend to be homeless to learn what dignity means. He knelt. Right there on the marble lobby floor, in front of dozens of employees, the billionaire CEO knelt. Before the janitor. Forgive me for lying. For not being the leader these people deserve. For building a company where people like you have to work to exhaustion while executives like Veronica get rich scheming and lying. Teresa was crying. She extended her hand, helped him up. Mr. Thompson, Richard, you don't need to kneel to me. I do, because you taught me more in 5 days than I learned in 10 years in that chair. You taught me that wealth without kindness is poverty. Power without compassion is weakness. That a person's true value isn't in their salary, but in their heart. He turned to the crowd. All of you, Every employee in this company. You are the soul of Thompson Tech. And I lost sight of that. I became just numbers, just profits. I forgot that numbers represent lives, families, dreams. He pulled out his phone, dialed Marcus. Marcus, call a general employee assembly. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. All floors. We're changing everything. The board meeting Veronica had called happened anyway, but it was nothing like she'd planned. Richard presented evidence of years of her manipulations. Small but constant embezzlements. Contracts steered to companies paying kickbacks. Bribes to board members. With Veronica out, the board members she controlled fell too. Complete purge. But what really changed was the next day's assembly. 1,300 employees gathered in the main auditorium. Richard on stage. No suit, no tie, just a button-down shirt and jeans. Human. Good afternoon. I know many of you are still in shock. Some think I'm crazy. Some think it was a PR stunt. It was none of that. It was desperation. Absolute silence. Desperation from a man who had everything and had nothing. Who ran an empire but was totally lost. Who didn't know his own kids. Who didn't know who worked for him. Who had become empty. He took a deep breath. This week, I worked with you. Cleaned bathrooms. Emptied trash. Felt what social invisibility is like on my own skin. And I discovered things that shame me deeply. He began listing cases of workplace harassment. Arbitrarily cut benefits. Frozen wages while executives got million-dollar bonuses. Lack of support for medical emergencies. Exhausting shifts. All that ends today, not tomorrow. Today. Murmurs started. First cha. NGE. Company minimum wage goes from $2,500 to $4,000 a month. Immediate effect. Anyone above that gets a proportional raise. Applause erupted. Second change. I'm creating the Teresa Fund. 5% of annual profits will go to medical emergencies for employees and families. Cancer, serious illnesses, uncovered surgeries. No one else will have to choose between saving who they love and keeping their job. Teresa, in the front row, covered her face, crying. Third change. Expanded health plan. Full coverage. Experimental treatments included. Extended to spouses, children, dependents. The audience was on their feet now. Fourth change. Creating the director of organizational culture position. Someone to ensure we never become a soulless machine again. And I know exactly who I want. He looked at Teresa. Teresa Silva. Will you accept? Teresa couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears flowing. Director's salary. Full benefits. Office on the 39th floor. Right next to mine. Because I want you close to remind me every day what really matters. The ovation was deafening. Richard waited for it to quiet. Last change. And the most important. Me, all directors and VPs will work 1 day a month in operational roles. Cleaning, maintenance, reception. So we never forget we're not better than anyone. We just had different opportunities. He paused, eyes shining. This company was founded by my father with a dream. To create a place where people thrive. Where work has dignity. Where success is measured not just in money, but in lives improved. I betrayed that dream, but I'll reclaim it. With your help. The ovation lasted 5 minutes. Employees cried, hugged. Teresa joined him on stage. Richard hugged her. Thank you, he whispered, for saving me. Thank you for saving Isabella, she whispered back. In the months that followed, the transformation was radical. The story leaked to the press, went viral. Thompson Tech became a Harvard Business School case study. Richard was invited to speak at conferences. He always declined. I'm no example, just a guy who woke up before it was too late. Isabella's experimental treatment worked. 6 months later, she was in full remission. Richard attended every appointment, became an honorary grandfather to the girl. Teresa, as director of culture, revolutionized the company, created direct communication channels, mental health support programs, on-site daycare for employees' kids. She didn't do it as a distant executive. She did it as someone who'd lived every problem. And Richard changed, reconnected with his kids. Peter and Marina started visiting the company regularly.
Met Teresa.
Isabella learned that wealth only has value when shared. On the eve of the first disguise day, as it became known, Richard organized a special event. Honored all employees with over 20 years of service. 47 people. He met each one, heard their stories. Teresa received a special plaque. To the one who taught us that kindness is power. That night, when everyone left, Richard went back to the basement. To the room now transformed into Roger Space. A meditation and rest area for employees. Teresa was there, having coffee. She'd insisted on keeping that ritual. Once a month, she and Richard would go down, sit on that old couch, which Richard refused to replace, and have reheated coffee with toast. "What are you thinking?" Teresa asked. "About how my life changed. How I changed. Because of you. It wasn't me. You chose to change. But you showed me the way." "Teresa, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why? Why did you help a strange homeless guy? You had so little. Needed every dollar. Why share your food? Why protect me?" Teresa smiled, that tired but genuine smile. "Because I remembered when I was at rock bottom. When my daughter died and I thought I'd die too. Know who helped me? A stranger. A woman I didn't even know. She brought me food, sat with me, said it'd pass. And it did. I learned that day that kindness is currency that never loses value. The more you give, the more you have." Richard felt tears in his eyes. "You're the richest person I've ever met. And you learned what money can't buy." They toasted with their coffee mugs. There, in that basement, two worlds that should never have met became family. How much does someone with everything need to lose to discover what really matters? And do we all need to disguise ourselves as homeless to see the humanity around us? Or is it enough to choose to truly look? 2 years later, Thompson Tech was unrecognizable. Not physically, the building was the same, but the soul was different. Employees arrived smiling, stayed late not because they had to, but because they cared. Turnover dropped 78%. Productivity rose 34%. But those numbers, Richard learned, were just results. What really changed was intangible. The warm greeting from the security guard. The receptionist who knew everyone's name. The intern unafraid to pitch ideas. The company that breathed. Teresa was in her 39th floor office when Richard walked in unannounced. As always. "Ready for the big night?" She rolled her eyes. "Richard, I don't need a fuss. You know I hate the spotlight." "I know. But best company to work for in the country can't be celebrated with just reheated coffee." "Well, not only with reheated coffee." Teresa laughed. In 2 years as director, she'd grown. Not in arrogance, that never, but in confidence. She learned to navigate board meetings, negotiate with vendors, led teams, but she never lost her essence. She still went to the basement weekly, still had coffee with the janitors, still knew every name, every story. "Isabella coming?" Richard asked. "Yeah, she won't miss a chance to dress up. She's growing up so fast, you know? 15 now, thinking about college. Medicine. Wants to be a pediatric oncologist. Says she wants to help other kids like she was helped." Richard felt his chest tighten with pride. Isabella was fully cured. Hair grown back. Eyes bright. Full of life and dreams. "And you? How you feeling?" Teresa looked out the window. The same view Richard had 1 floor up. "Sometimes I still can't believe it, you know? That it's real. That I won't wake up in my 2-room apartment, 3 jobs waiting, not knowing how I'll pay the electric bill. It's real, Teresa. You deserve every second. Funny thing? I have money now. Bought a nice condo, a car, can travel. But I'm not happier than before. I'm different. But happiness, it was always in Isabella. In knowing I did my best. Money doesn't change that. But it lets you do your best with a lot more peace." "That's true," she smiled. The awards ceremony was at the city's most luxurious hotel. 1,000 guests, business leaders, journalists, officials. Richard hated events like this, but this one was special because it recognized what they built together. When Thompson Tech was announced as winner, it was Teresa who went on stage to accept. Richard insisted, "You're the reason, not me." Teresa, elegant in a navy blue dress Isabella helped pick, held the trophy with hands still bearing calluses from 23 years of hard labor. "Good evening. 2 years ago I was a janitor, making $2,500 a month, working 3 jobs, barely seeing my granddaughter. I was dying inside, but I kept going because it was the only way I knew to live. By working. Always working." The audience was in absolute silence. Then one day, I found a homeless man sleeping in the cleaning supply room. I could have called security, ignored him, but I chose to share my lunch with him, because someone once did that for me when I needed it most. And that choice changed my life. She looked at Richard in the front row next to Isabella, Peter, and Marina. That homeless man was Richard Thompson, our CEO. And he wasn't disguising himself to test me. He was disguising himself to find himself, to rediscover what he'd lost. Humanity. And what I learned. Real change doesn't happen top-down. It happens when powerful people choose humility, when rich people choose generosity, when people at the top choose to come down and look in the eyes of those below. Tears began to fall. This company won this award because it decided people matter more than profit. Dignity matters more than productivity. Every employee has a name, a story, a family. And when we care for those who work with us, we all thrive. Mine. No, you changed mine, and taught me to change others. 3 years passed since that night. Thompson Tech kept growing. But growth meant different things now. Not just revenue, but lives impacted by the Teresa Fund. 847 families so far. Employees going to college on company scholarships, 234. Kids in subsidized daycare, 156. Richard, now 45, was different. Gray at the temples, smile lines around his eyes. Serious relationship with Claire, a doctor he met through Teresa. Constant presence in his kids' lives. Teresa, 61, continued as director of culture, but added a new role, speaker. Traveled the country sharing her story, inspiring other companies, showing change is possible. Isabella, 18, got into med school at the top university in the country. Her high school graduation speech was about second chances, about grandmas who sacrificed and chose to learn. Epilogue. 5 years after that first night, Richard, 47, announced a historic decision. 40% of his personal shares would transfer to an employee fund. Every person working at Thompson Tech for over 5 years would become a shareholder. They'd share not just salary, but ownership, profits, future. Wall Street called it madness. Analysts predicted disaster. But Richard didn't care. "I don't build a company for the market. I build it for people." At the announcement ceremony, he invited Teresa on stage. 5 years ago, this woman offered me a sandwich. I was hungry, not for food, for meaning, purpose, humanity. She fed me, and keeps feeding me, not with bread, but with wisdom, example, love. He turned to the employee audience. "You're all owners now, not just workers, owners. And I hope, when it's your turn to lead, you remember. True profit isn't in the bank. It's in the eyes of those we work with, in the lives we help build, in sleeping knowing we made a difference." Isabella, now in her 3rd year of med school, was in the front row. She looked at her grandma with immeasurable love, at Richard with eternal gratitude, and promised herself she'd carry the lesson forward, that every patient would be treated not as a medical case, but as a precious human being. Peter, 22, already worked at the company. Not nepotism, but because he wanted to learn from Teresa, understand transforming culture, leading with heart. Marina, 20, studied social work, said she wanted to be Teresa for the world, helping the invisible be seen. The lineage of kindness continued. 10 years later, Richard, 52, decided to step down as CEO. Not from fatigue, but because it was time. Time for the next generation to lead. And he knew exactly who should. "Teresa, we need to talk." She was 66 now, hair fully white, but eyes still shone with the same light. "Go ahead. I want you to take over as CEO." Teresa laughed, thought it was a joke. But Richard was serious. "Me? Richard? I'm a janitor. You were a janitor. Now you're the wisest person in this company. You understand people, struggle, sacrifice, and most importantly, kindness. I can't think of anyone better to lead Thompson Tech into the future. But I don't have an MBA, no business degree. I barely finished high school. So what? You have a PhD in humanity, in real life, in turning pain into purpose, that you don't learn in college." Teresa cried, not from sadness, from impossible fulfillment, from poor girl who became janitor, who became director, who became CEO. "Okay, but one condition." "What?" "You stay as board chairman, and every month we still go down to Roger's space, have reheated coffee, eat stale toast, so we never forget where we came from." Richard hugged her. "Deal." Teresa ran Thompson Tech for 8 years. They were the most prosperous in company history, not just financially, though profits doubled, but in meaning, impact, social change. She created a first job program for ex-cons, for the homeless, for refugees, gave chances to those no one else would, and they all rose to it, because Teresa understood people don't need charity. They need opportunity, dignity, someone who believes. When she retired at 74, Isabella took over as CEO. The granddaughter she saved, the doctor who healed not just bodies but systems, who saw corporate health as human health, who led with science and heart. Richard, 60, dedicated himself to travel, speaking, writing. His book, The Homeless CEO, sold millions, but all proceeds went to a fund creating Roger spaces in companies nationwide. Places where CEOs could reconnect with humanity, where janitors could rest with dignity. And every Monday morning, without fail, 2 elders went down to the basement of a 40-story building, sat on an old couch no one dared replace, drank reheated coffee, ate simple toast, and talked about life, about change, about how one shared sandwich changed not just 2 lives, but thousands. "You believe in what we built?" Teresa asked one such morning. Richard looked around, at the room that was a temple, at the woman who was a master, at the life that was a miracle. "I believe I was truly homeless, beggar for humanity, and you gave me immeasurable wealth, gave me myself back." Teresa smiled. "You know what really happened that night? When you disguised yourself?" "What?" "You didn't disguise as homeless. You dropped the CEO disguise, and finally showed up as human." Richard felt tears in his eyes, because it was true. For 42 years, he'd disguised himself as a successful executive, a rich man, powerful leader, when really he was empty, lost, poor in what mattered. It took becoming homeless to find wealth, losing everything to gain everything, going to the basement to reach the sky. "Thank you, Teresa, for everything. Thank you for choosing to change, to learn, to be human." They toasted, reheated coffee in old mugs, but the taste was infinite, of completeness, of realized purpose. Outside, the sun rose over the city. Thousands of people woke for another workday. At Thompson Tech, and hundreds of companies inspired by their story, each carrying the seed planted that night. Seed of kindness, dignity, humanity, because in the end, it doesn't matter how much money we have. It matters how much love we share. It doesn't matter what title we carry. It matters how many lives we touch. It doesn't matter where we start. It matters who we choose to be. And Teresa, the janitor who became CEO, and Richard, the CEO who became homeless, proved transformation is possible. Always, for everyone. Just choose. Just look. Just be human. In the end, We're all beggars asking for love and millionaires giving kindness. The question is, what will you choose to be today? And do you need to lose everything to find what really matters? Or just open your eyes to those already beside you, waiting to be seen? The greatest wealth is a generous heart. The greatest power is the courage to be humble. And the greatest leadership is lifting the fallen, even when you're on the ground yourself.